What's going on, everyone? Tech Me Out here, and Apple had their keynote and officially unveiled a couple of new things. So we got 3 new phones and 1 new Apple Watch. So the rumors checked out to be true in a lot of areas, with the exception that we didn't get a new iPad, and we also didn't get the new AirPods or the, Air Power Mat. I forgot the name. It's been so long since they've talked about it. But the little charging pad, those things were not unveiled today, so we're still waiting on that. But let's talk about what was unveiled. So we got those 3 new phones. So 2 of the 3 phones that got announced today is the iPhone XS and the iPhone XS Max. And they're really kind of one and the same. They pretty much have the same features, with the exception that the XS Max is larger in terms of the battery capacity and the display. But I want to say the cameras are identical on these, so you don't have to choose the larger one for the better camera as you probably would have in the past, which is really nice because now you don't have to choose, the bigger device because it has the better camera. You can truly choose the device based upon the size factor in which you want. Now, although I like the features that were introduced, I'm not a fan of the name. I don't understand why we had to jump into a new naming space. I like the sound of iPhone XS Plus than I do iPhone XS Max. It just doesn't roll off the tongue quite as nicely as iPhone X Plus. Drop down below in the comment section if you have a preference of one over the other. But outside of the name, on these devices, what we have is a 5.8-inch display on the iPhone XS and a 6.5-inch display on the iPhone XS Max. Now, 6.5-inch display on an iPhone is the largest yet. Like, they've never teetered into that space, but they still managed to keep a small footprint. So although a large display, in hand it's gonna be something like an iPhone 8 Plus, which is good. And it's something that I have personally been wanting. Like, I like the iPhone 10, but I always, say that I wish it had the form factor of an iPhone 8 Plus. I don't know, that's just me. So to know that now I can have the 2 of them into one solution, I'm good. So both displays are OLED and they're both Super Retina HD. They also have HDR. Of course, the pixel resolution is different because there's 2 different sizes. You still have 3D Touch and Face ID, so kind of like you had on the 10, you have on the XS and the XS Max. But outside of those things, something that is new on these 2 devices is the splash water and dust resistance, as they have entered into a new level. So more specifically, when it comes to the water resistance, they've tested it with other elements like coffee and juice, so that you can be sure that if your phone comes in contact with these things, all you have to do is rinse it and you're good to go, versus with the current devices, you might not be so lucky. Apple also introduced their new A12 Bionic Chip in both of these devices as well, so that's going to be powering the XS and the XS Max. And with it, it's supposed to improve different elements of the phone, such as AR. That's even going to be better this go round. And they demoed some games and things like that. Now, taking it back to the camera that I mentioned a little bit earlier. So yes, it is the same on both models. What you will have is a dual 12 megapixel wide angle and telephoto camera. The wide angle is going to have a f1.8 aperture, and the telephoto is going to have a 2.4 aperture. But something I'm really looking forward to are the advancements in portrait mode. So now you're going to have finer control over your depth. So what you'll be able to do is pretty much have a little slider at the bottom of your screen, even after you've taken the photo, to increase or decrease the intensity of the depth and the bokeh in your picture. And it does it by showing you the f-stop instead of just a slider that says more or less. But with the camera, you have smart HDR, which is going to give you faster sensors, which is also going to permit more highlight and shadow detail to your pictures. And then looking at the pictures that they demoed and showed, they look great, but that's typical. Like, I'm generally impressed with the photos that are presented at the keynote, but that depth control, that's something that I'm really interested to get my hands on and test out for myself. For all the selfie queens and kings out there, you should also have improvements on that camera. It is 7 megapixels, but it should be better. And for my cell phone videographers, you now have the option to capture sound in stereo. So it has better low light performance, extended dynamic range, in addition to stereo recording and stereo playback. Of course, the battery is also better. They have not given, though, the exact spec in terms of how many milliamps will be inside, but they did state that the iPhone XS is gonna last up to 30 minutes longer than the iPhone X, and the iPhone XS Max is gonna last up to 1.5 hours longer than the iPhone X. And we also got a new color, so I'm excited about that. Like the rumors stated, we do have this new gold color to the lineup. Now, I do really like the new gold color. Like, that is the one that I'm going for because it just looks good. I like the shade of it. So if you're interested in getting one of these 2 options, both will be offered in 64 256, and 512 gigabytes. The iPhone XS is gonna go for $999, and the iPhone XS Max is gonna go for $1099. Like, we're entering into new price ranges for phones, and we're getting closer to the prices of a computer for a phone, even though they're getting closer to being like a computer. But still, I don't know, $1099 is a lot. That's a lot of money for a phone, you know, especially if you're buying it outright. However, those are just two of the phones that were announced today. We also have the iPhone XR. Did I say that right? No, I said that totally wrong. I did say that. Okay. I don't know what was up with the naming of these phones this go around. So the XR has a 6.1 inch liquid retina display, which is bigger than that found on the 8 Plus. So it's like the median between the Max and the S. It has 120 hertz touch sensing. It also has a tap to wake and all the iPhone X features except the 3D touch, and instead has haptic touch, which is gonna be similar to that of what we experience on the new MacBook trackpads. So it simulates something kind of like a 3D touch, but it's not technically 3D touch. It also has the A12 Bionic Chip, which I was surprised about, but happy to know. And like the iPhone XS, it has a 12 megapixel camera, but it does not have a dual camera setup. However, you still have portrait mode. So when cross comparing the iPhone XR against the iPhone XS Max and the iPhone XS, you're basically missing out on the OLED display, the 3D touch, and the dual camera setup. The battery, of course, isn't as strong as that on the other ones, but it is better than that on the iPhone 8 Plus, as it's gonna give you an hour and a half more of phone usage. It's made of all glass, and it has aluminum bands and these beautiful color options. I think coral and red are probably my two favorites that I've seen. Oh, and yellow too. Yellow looks good up here. And I'll probably be picking this up as well. I'm not sure which color option I'll go for. As you can see, I have my eye on a couple of them. So the XR is the cheapest option out of all of these. And I think compared to when Apple took this approach with the 5C, and it just, I don't know, it just to me didn't have the same appeal that the iPhone XR does in reference to making you want to buy it. Like, it just kind of looked kiddish, and this doesn't. So I like it. You still got that premium design. So yeah, it's just a more affordable way to get an iPhone X. We also got some new case color options with this announcement. So if you're curious, what is this iPhone lineup for phones that are available for purchase going to look like? It's gonna look something like this. So you have the iPhone 7 starting at $449, the iPhone 8 starting at $599, on up to the new devices, leaving the highest price option being the XS Max for $1099. The new phones are available for pre-order September 14th, and they ship on the 21st, with iOS 12 dropping on the 17th. But I think the two things that I'm most excited about with these new phones would be the color options and the camera. The camera just seems to get that bump up. That's not a complete overhaul, but at the same time still noteworthy. I was a little disappointed though to see that the AirPower and the new AirPods, especially the AirPower, were still not announced. Like, when? I think the lack of any type of communication on any type of status of it is what's really perplexing. But hey, maybe in the spring of 2019 we will see it. I don't know. I will be ordering at least the XS Max and the iPhone XR. So yeah, to the sides of me, you should probably see my face. If you want, you can click on that and subscribe so you can get more content. And if you want to watch some more content right now, there's a video over there as well. But that's gonna do it for this one. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed it. And as always, thanks for taking the time out to let me tech you out.